Hey everyone, so Flutter 3.29 was just released. Let's go through it. So dive into Flutter 3.29. This release refines development and boosts performance with updates to Impeller, Cupertino, DevTools and more. With 104 unique authors contributing this release cycle, Flutter 3.29 showcases the community's dedication. Let's explore what's new. Cupertino updates. Cupertino navigation bar and Cupertino sliver navigation bar now accept a bottom widget, typically a search field or segmented control. In a Cupertino sliver navigation bar, this bottom widget can be configured using the bottom mode property to either automatically resize until hidden or to always be shown when the navigation bar is scrolled. Other changes to the navigation bars include: when partially scrolled, Cupertino sliver navigation bar snaps between its expanded and collapsed state. A new Cupertino navigation bar .large constructor allows the static navigation bar to display a large title. Thanks to the community contributor David Hicks, 1980, Cupertino pop-ups now have more vibrant background blurs, which improves native fidelity. The new Cupertino sheet route shows an iOS-style modal sheet view that can be removed using the drag to dismiss gesture. The new Cupertino sheet function displays the sheet with a common setup for nested navigations baked in. Community member the Jiten Patel improved Cupertino's alert dialog native fidelity in dark mode as shown in the following screenshot. When inverted Flutter's text selection handles swap their order on iOS, when the border color of the text selection magnifier now matches the current theme. Material: the feed forwards page transition builder is the new Material 3 M3 page transition builder designed to match the Android's latest page transition behavior. During the transition, the incoming page slides in from the right to the left while simultaneously fading in, and the outgoing page slides out from right to left, fading out concurrently. This new transition also addresses the performance issues previously caused by Zoom page transitions builder. This release updates the circular progress indicator and linear progress indicator to align the latest Material Design 3 specification. To use the updated styling, either set the year 2023 property to false or set progress indicator theme data.year 2023 to false. This release also introduces the latest Material 3 slider design featuring updated tracks and handle shapes. The slider defaults to the previous Material 3 design. To enable the latest design, either set year 2023 to false or set slider theme data.year 2023 to false. This release includes several bug fixes and feature enhancements for the Material library. Notable fixes includes: keyboard navigation now correctly triggers the drop-down menu on selected callback, improved tab bar elastic tab navigation, improved range slider thumb alignment with division, thumb padding and rounded corners. In addition to bug fixes, this release enhances the customizability of several Material components. The move cursor property has been added to chip, tooltip and reorderable list view, allowing for custom mouse cursor on hover. Text selection: Flutter now gives more information about the selection under selection area or selectable region with selection listener and selection listener notifier. The selection details object available through selection listener notifier provides you with the start and end offsets of the selection relative to the wrapped subtree and indicates whether a selection exists and if it's collapsed. For a widget or selectable subtree that you want to listen to, wrap it with selection listener widget. Flutter also gives you information regarding the status of a selection area or selectable region. Through the selectable region selection status scope inherited widget, you can check whether a parent selection area or selectable region is actively changing or has finalized its selection by using selectable region selection status scope dot may be of context and checking the selectable region selection status. Accessibility: this release improves the accessibility of several Material widgets. When a screen reader is enabled, the form widget only announces the first error that it encounters. A screen reader now announces the correct label for drop-down menus. Web: when initially released in May 2024, Flutter's WebAssembly WASM support on the web require you to host Flutter application with a special HTTP response headers. This requirement has now been relaxed while updating the Headers allow Flutter web apps built with Wasm to run with multiple threads using default headers. Now allows the application to run with Wasm but limited to a single thread. We have fixed several issues around images on the WebGL backends, but the most important one are decoding the images asynchronously of the UI thread to avoid jank, making image.network work with coarse image out of the box, engine impeller Vulkan stability. Thanks to the feedback and bug reports on the 3.27 beta and stable releases, a number of correctness and performance improvements were made to the Vulkan backend, including fixing a reproducible flickering and visual jitter that many users reported on older Vulkan capable device. Disable Android hardware buffer swap change. This feature has been placed behind a feature flag until it's determined that it works correctly across Android devices. A large number of black screen and crash reports were the result of using the Vulkan on the MediaTek Power VR socks and have been disabled. These devices now only use the impeller OpenGLES. See below. Android emulators have been updated to use the impeller GLES backend. Impeller OpenGLES in 3.29. Android devices that don't have a functional Vulkan driver will fall back to impeller running on OpenGLES instead of using Skia. This behavior is enabled by default and doesn't need to be configured. This brings impeller support on Android to 100% of Flutter's supported Android devices. Impeller on iOS. Skia support has been removed from the iOS backend, and the FLT enable impeller opt-out flag no longer works. Further binary size reductions are expected in future releases as we begin to remove Skia components from iOS build. New features. This release contains a number of new features that take advantage of the impeller backend. Backdrop filter optimization. Application that display multiple backdrop filters can now use the new widget backdrop group and new backdrop filter.group constructor. This can improve performance of multiple blurs above and beyond what was possible on the Skia backend. For an example, visit the basic.dart source code. Image filter.shader. A new image filter constructor allows applying a custom shader to any child widgets. This provides similar functionality to the animated sampler widget from package Flutter shaders, except that it also works with backdrop filters. For example, visit the painting.dart source code. Dart threading changes on Android and iOS. Previously, Flutter executed Dart code on a different thread, UI thread, than the platform's main thread. This allowed higher theoretical throughput if both platform and UI threads were occupied, but came at the cost of making most platform interop require serialized and asynchronous message passing. This architecture also had knock-on effects on text input, accessibility, plugins, and so on. Starting in 3.29, Flutter on Android and iOS execute Dart code on the application's main thread, and there is no longer a separate UI thread. This is the first part in a series of changes to improve platform interop on mobile platforms, as it allows making synchronous calls to and fro from the platform without the overhead of serialization and message passing. DevTools and IDEs. New DevTools Inspector. The new DevTools Inspector is enabled by default for all users. The new inspector has a condensed widget tree, a new widget property views, and an option to automatically update in response to hot reload and navigation events. For more detail, visit the new inspector page on docs.flutter.dev. Changes to on-device widget selection. After enabling widget selection mode from DevTools Inspector, any selection on the device are considered widget selection until you exit widget selection mode. Previously, after the initial widget selection, you needed to click the on-device select widget button to then select another widget. Instead, there is now on-device button that can be used to quickly exit widget selection mode. Logging tool improvements. The logging tool in DevTools have been improved in the following ways. Logs include and display more metadata such as log severity, category, zone, and isolate. Added support for filtering by log severity levels. Significant improvements in performance and initial load time. These are just few highlights from this release. To learn more about all the updates and included in Flutter 3.29, check out the release notes for DevTools 2.41 and 2.42. Breaking changes and deprecation. Discontinuing package support. We plan to discontinue support for following packages on April 30th, 2025. iOS platform images, CSS colors, palette generator, Flutter image, Flutter adaptive scaffold, and Flutter markdown. We encourage any interested member of the community to coordinate on establishing and maintaining forks. Link to the issue are provided above for discussion and coordination. Removal of script-based application of the Flutter Gradle plugin. Removal of script based application of the Flutter Gradle plugin, which has been deprecated since 3.19. This supports converting the Flutter Gradle plugin from Groovy to Kotlin and towards migrating it to use Android Gradle plugins public API. This work is expected to decrease the frequency of breakages when a new AGP version is published and reduced build based regressions. Projects created before 3.16 that have not yet migrated will likely be impacted. If Flutter 2 logs the warning you are applying Flutter's main Gradle plugin imperatively when building your project, you are impacted and need to migrate according to deprecated imperative apply of Flutter's Gradle plugin on docs.flutter.dev. Removal of the web HTML renderer. This is the first release where the HTML renderer has been removed from Flutter web. For more information, visit the intent to deprecate and remove the HTML renderer in Flutter web and issue 145584 intend to deprecate and remove HTML renderer in Flutter web. Web image handling. This release also gives you more control over how images are displayed on the web. In the previous beta release 3.28, image widgets would automatically use the img elements to display images from URLs when CORS errors occurred. This could lead to inconsistent behavior. Now the web HTML element strategy flags lets you choose when img elements are used. While this fallback is disabled by default, you can still enable the fallback or even prioritize img elements if needed for your application. Material normalization. As part of our ongoing theme normalization project in Material, this release deprecates theme data.dialog background color in favor of dialog theme data.background color. You can use the dartfix command to migrate affected code. Also in Material, the button style button icon element property was deprecated after being added to button style and associated style from methods. For all breaking changes in this release, see the full list of migration guidelines on the breaking changes page of the website. As always, many thanks to the community for contributing text. This helps us identify breaking changes. To learn more, check out Flutter's breaking change policy. Conclusion. Thanks to the Flutter community for making this release possible. We are excited for the future and can't wait to see your apps. Check out the release notes and change logs and then run Flutter upgrade and start building. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.